Very rarely do I find anything that is as beautiful as my wife, but I've got to say, what a spectacular place to be having a conversation. We'd like to take this time and first off say thank you. You're giving us one of the most valuable things that you've got, and that's your time. And obviously, if you're listening to us, you're one of those people that's truly dedicated to being the very best that you can be, so thank you. It's our belief that our greatest pains or our greatest pleasures come from this relationship right here.
Absolutely. Our intimate relationships can be one of our greatest sources of pleasure, but when they're not working, they can also be one of our greatest areas of pain. We all know that in every marriage, there can be difficulties or struggles, but it only becomes a real problem when we don't find solutions to those struggles along the way. And that's why we've created this program, because we experienced that about 12 years ago.
I found myself one morning at a crossroads. The fact of the matter is I'd been married for about 6 years, and I found myself at a place that I'd been twice before. This was my third marriage. And I was sitting there going, I'm headed for a divorce. What's the deal? How come is it that I can't make a relationship work? And I'd been reading that morning, and I was getting ready to go work out, and I threw all my stuff in a gym bag, and I headed for the car, and it dawned on me, when was the last time I read the book called My Wife?
Because it's really a universal principle if you think about it. I mean, in our businesses, we know that we have to give daily time, energy, and effort in order to make our businesses work and be successful. The same principle applies to our health. We know that in order to have great health, we can't just exercise one day and coast for the rest of the year and have it be great. And so it occurred to Alonzo first, and then later myself, that in order to have a spectacular relationship, it was something that we were going to have to give our continual time, energy, and effort to on a regular basis.
So as I headed to the gym, I also thought, when was the last time I really made my relationship sweat? And I'm not just talking about in the bedroom. I'm talking about working on the things that are important. When was the last time I got her flowers? When was the last time that I got up and told her that I loved her in a new way? When was the last time that I took the time to really understand what was going on from her point of view?
And the same thing for me. It came much later because, as Alonzo will share, he started this whole process much sooner than I did. But after several months and seeing the difference that it made in him, I began asking the questions of how could I incorporate this for myself? And wow, what a difference it made.
So I made a commitment right then and right there. I was going to take my relationship to the gym from that day forward. And I started that by building off of a foundation of gratitude. So I was looking for all of the ways, how could I write all the things that I was truly grateful for about this amazing woman? And I'm not talking about the hairy-fairy, the surface stuff. I'm not talking about that she made the bed or she cooked me a meal. I'm talking about the things that really penetrated, that when I thought about it, felt sincere from inside. And as I sat there at that table and I wrote these things, I was into it about 45 minutes looking at this blank page that had 3 things on it. And of those 3 things, 2 of them had to do with sex. What an awakening. What a realization that I really didn't know this woman. And even more so, the fact of the matter is I could fill up 4 or 5 pages of things that I didn't like. But I didn't give up. I made a commitment, and I was going to follow through on that commitment day in and day out until I could fill those pages up.
And honestly, I was really in the same place, but I hadn't come to the awareness that Alonzo had. So our relationship was struggling, and I was focusing daily on all the things that he was doing that was wrong, in my book, which was only creating more problems in our relationship.
And the funny thing is as I worked at this, expecting that she was going to change, what I found was she didn't change, I did. And as I changed, I started coming to the table differently. And as I came to the table differently, it started drawing out different responses in her. But that didn't mean that she was going to forgive 6 years worth of activity. I had to continually put the work in. I had to be persistent in it on a regular basis to show her that this was really a new thing that was truly there. In fact, we had reached the 6-month period, and I was out one morning, and we had had a tough day the day before, and I was out there and I was journaling and I was writing down all the things and centering myself, and she walked out, and I'll let her tell you what she said.
I basically just looked at him and said, look, if you have to force yourself every day for an hour to convince yourself that you love me, then clearly you don't. But fortunately, he was committed to the process that he was beginning.
You know, just like going to the gym, there's going to be times that you lift and you lift and lift, and you don't see the responses in the mirror that you want. And that was the same thing that took place at that juncture in our relationship. And I stayed true to my commitment. And through doing that, what I found is one of the key needs for all women is to feel safe. And what she was doing was she was testing that even if she pushed back, was she still going to be safe? And luckily at that time, I passed that test without that in-depth knowledge that I learned as I continued the process. But that's what really helped us, was me being vulnerable, being willing to take those hits and coming back, staying centered and present.
At that point, I had realized that he truly was committed to the process that he was doing, and he wasn't responding to my pushback anymore. Anything that I had given him, he was coming to from a totally different place. And so from that point, I just looked at him and said, look, I don't know what it is that you are doing, but I hope that you never stop, because it had created such a difference in our relationship. And keep in mind that up until this point, everything that Alonzo was doing, he was doing on his own. I was not participating in any way, shape, or form. So a lot of the clients that come to us, they say, well, what if my spouse doesn't want to participate? And we say, it doesn't matter. Because when you change internally, you're going to show up differently, and that's going to create a different response out of them.
So at that 8-month mark, we started doing this together. It started to be harmonious. And that's when we started really understanding what creating spectacular was. And in doing that, that's when we started really seeking the differences, that a man is a direct communicator. If he says no, he doesn't want to do something, that means no, he doesn't want to do it at that time. It doesn't mean anything else than that. And so we started really studying these things. And so this has been 12 years of all of our time really focused on creating this. And so through that, we created a relationship program. We've done over 200, and we've had 0 failures in this. So if you're one of those people, and men, let me really call out to you. I'm a guy's guy. Last thing I want to do is talk to somebody else about my relationship. Last thing I want to do is open up and share with a group of men what's going on. I don't want to do the huggy. I'm not looking to be softer. I'm not looking to be gentler. I want to be a man and still make my wife feel safe. So this program is built around you maintaining your balls and moving forward and making your wife feel like that she's a queen.
So that's what this program really does include. It includes all the things that you would expect, the daily things that you can do to create spectacular in your relationship. And it also dives really, really deep into what are the needs on a biological level, what we have for, our expectations as husbands and wives. And then it also brings conversation into what creates passion and intimacy again, because so many marriages, they settle for love, but after the years go by, they think that they can't have intimacy or playfulness or energy, and that's just absolutely not the case. You can have both.
So we've created this program. Now you can buy the book. It's going to give you the exercises, but it's not going to be the personal trainer that's saying you can do 2 more, you can do 5 more. You're not going to get the muscle that you can get as you do when you open up with someone that's been down that path before. So we really look forward to you digging in and finding what it is that creates spectacular for you. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a relationship, whether you've got a good relationship, or whether you're mending a relationship, the program works for everyone. So I don't know where we'll meet you down the road, but we look forward for that opportunity to meet you and create those moments where you could share how you created spectacular in your life, and we can continue to show how we create spectacular in ours.